Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. The Ice Guys are back. The NHL is back. The regular season resuming tonight. It is Wednesday, February 25th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and Perlo, your regular Wednesday crew in the house as we get the NHL regular season up and running once again, and excited about that. While we enjoyed the men's Olympic hockey tournament, and it was great, and we'll start the show talking about what was a phenomenal gold medal game on Sunday morning between Canada and the United States. I mean, even though it was 1-1 going into overtime and it ended 2-1, only 3 goals in the game, it's as good a 1-1 game or a game with 3 goals in it as you'll ever see. It was outstanding hockey. There was a million chances both ways, especially for Canada, obviously. You know, they did carry the play, especially in the second period and the third period, but it was just one of those instances where, you have to be good and you have to have some puck luck. And, Canada was just a little off on their execution and their finish. The puck luck wasn't there. You have to credit Connor Hellebuyck, who, and it's no argument now, no debate on this. That was the game of his life, the game of his career on Sunday morning. No issues, no arguments to be made. He has not played better in a single game, especially in a spot as big as that, than he did on Sunday. He was the difference in the game, really. I mean, the goal stick save on Devon Taves, which was an outstanding effort to he had an open net essentially and put the paddle of the goal stick out and kept that puck out when that game was 1-1. The only shot that beat him was just a laser perfect shot into the corner by Cale Makar coming in just near the faceoff dot. So it was a very, very impressive game from Connor Hellebuyck. And to be honest with you, you can say the U.S. was kind of hanging on, but at the end of the day, they finished one extra opportunity than Canada did, and that was the difference in the game. The 3-on-3 overtime, we've talked about how it's maybe not the format we love. At the end of the day, both teams have to play in it. I can't listen to Canada scream after the game about how they didn't love the format. The fact is they actually won one of their elimination medal round games in that format when they beat Czechia on the Mitch Marner goal. At the end of the day, they scored and you didn't. And you had chances. Of course, Nathan McKinnon is probably going to see that empty net, that yawning cage, as Doc Emmerich would say, in his nightmares, I think, thinking about this 10, 20 years from now. But it was a great hockey game. What a great goal, too, from the States. They caught Canada trying to finish the game. They got caught with numbers the other way. And what a pass by Zach Werenski to tee it up for Jack Hughes for the overtime game-winning goal. And I talked about how Hellebuyck really improved his reputation with that incredible performance, the best of his career. So did Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes has had some questions about what he's done in big games in the playoffs in particular in the past, but he had a really good tournament and obviously is a hero forever, etched in U.S. hockey history, as an all-time heroic figure because of scoring that overtime winner on Sunday to beat Canada for gold. So it was an incredible game. I love seeing what the ratings were. 20 million, over 20 million people. Amazing. At 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific, tuned into that game on either NBC or Peacock in the United States. It peaked at 26 million viewers during the overtime. Could you imagine what the ratings would have been for that game if it was at a decent hour, say in the afternoon on the East Coast, or at least a little bit later in the morning on the West Coast? But a terrific rating for that game television-wise in the United States. Obviously, it feels like it's been a 3-4 day bender for the U.S. players celebrating after the game in Italy. They partied in Miami at the nightclub 11. And then, of course, they have their day at the White House yesterday with President Trump and, of course, introduced during the State of the Union. Connor Hellebuyck given the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So it's been a whirlwind. It's almost like been a rock band or a musical artist going on a world tour here, the U.S. here these last few days. But now that's done. It was a great win for the United States. And like I said, certainly a great performance from them. And look, Canada can complain about, we dominated that game and didn't win, but that's the way hockey goes. I mean, you shouldn't be shocked. We see this all the time in hockey, where you're going to outplay the team, but you don't win. And that's exactly what happened. there on Sunday. But, and it felt actually deep down inside the watching that once Nathan McKinnon missed that empty net, I'm like, U.S. is probably going to win. Canada keeps missing these golden chances. Hellebuck was outstanding. And the fact that they were playing that gold medal game on the 46-year anniversary of the Miracle on Ice, the very day 46 years ago that the U.S. won the Miracle on Ice, or had the Miracle on Ice win, I should say, against the Soviets. That was a semifinal win. They actually won the gold medal against Finland. It was the next game. But still, 46-year anniversary. It felt like it was written in the stars and stripes, as I said on Twitter, for the United States to maybe win that gold. And like I said, what this does for hockey, we'll see. We're praying and hoping like hell that even anybody, whether it was anybody that watched on Sunday morning, even anybody that's watching State of the Union last night and seeing the U.S. team getting introduced and brought into the chamber there, that even those people that aren't big sports fans or hockey fans will watch that and say, hey, maybe I got to check this thing called the NHL out, when the regular season begins. And that's the hope, is that this gold medal win not only inspires young kids in the United States to start playing hockey, but grows the sport from an eyeballs perspective, a popularity standpoint, and just gets more people tuned into NHL hockey. Now, whether that actually happens remains to be seen, but that's what I'm hopeful for. But a great tournament and an outstanding gold medal game. For all the frustrations, and it certainly wasn't a great betting tournament for me. It was up and down. But like I said, it was still a great way to end the Olympic hockey tournament with a phenomenal gold medal game. Alex, your thoughts?
The two best moments of the entire Olympics happened Sunday after the game. Number one was, of course, in Milan when they're celebrating. They bring out Johnny Gaudreau's jersey. They bring his kids out.
I forgot to mention that.
Birthday.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's just that. It reminded me of seeing when they wheeled out Vladimir Konstantinov when the Red Wings won the cup. It was those kind of moments that you'll never forget them as a hockey fan, in my opinion. That's the biggest takeaway I'll have visually from that game, and that as great as a game as it was, but that moment, it certainly stamped it as an iconic moment, not just in U.S. history, but hockey history overall. That was just an absolute beautiful celebration. And then they showed, I'm not sure where this was, but they showed a group of kids who were playing some local little rink. And they announced that the U.S. wins, and both of the benches clear, and they're celebrating with one another and skating around the rink. And that's what this is all about, right? Like that's what when you're really talking about growing the game. Yeah, all right, we're gonna watch the fucking game till we're dead, right? And we can only hope that 26 million of those people who got up at 8 a.m. won't have any excuse to watch hockey on a nightly basis at 7 Eastern, 8 Eastern on any other given weeknight. But to have those kids have that moment and that excitement, that's what leads to 20 years from now, we're talking about one of those kids playing on an NHL team and breaking down their stats, or talking about one of those kids getting picked to be on the Olympic team. That's really what this whole thing was all about, right? Like I said, the ratings, if you really wanted better ratings than 26 million, you'd have flipped them around, whatever. If you really wanted better ratings, you would have put more games on TV. You wouldn't have lied about having games on USA Network when they actually were on Peacock. You would have figured all the logistics out. But those little intangibles that seem little now, well, that's how the game keeps going. That's why we still have players and why you still have fans and how you build upon that. So those moments were absolutely amazing. And those are the takeaways that I'll remember from Milan 2026. I remember the U.S. won. I won't remember shit else from this tournament. But those moments, those will carry with me long after the games are done.
Yeah, no doubt. The Johnny Gaudreau stuff, glad you mentioned that. It was just heartwarming to see that, especially Mr. and Mrs. Gaudreau there and the crowd getting all emotional. I mean, that's a beautiful moment. Unbelievably beautiful moment. Outstanding. Just them to have the wherewithal to do that, like I said, was great during the celebration. Now, Perlo, your thoughts on the U.S. capturing the gold?
Yeah, it's funny. I live here in the United States now. I lived in Canada most of my life. I love both countries. I did find myself rooting for Canada during the game, but when the U.S. did win, like to go with Alex, it really is better for the game. Jack Hughes, does that not kind of give you like Clark vibes back in the day with the teeth out and stuff like that? Like they had their Bobby Clark moment where, you know, it's such a cool picture. If I ever find it, I'm going to get some sort of portrait or something of that nature for it's a wonderful picture with the flag around and all that kind of stuff like that. I hope that more and more kids in the United States have that poster up on their wall after this game. And when it comes right down to it, I think for the betterment of the game, I'm very happy that the United States won. I'm very happy that the game is being embraced to the point where they are in that game. They were kind of dominated, but really, the team isn't too far away. Like, it wasn't really far away throughout the tournament. They had times when they dominated. They had times when maybe they were just hanging on. But the fact of the matter is they hung on. And Hellebuyck was, like you guys said, amazing in that game. That's not one of the best performances it is the best performance maybe of his life. It's one of the best goaltending performances I've ever seen. He was fantastic. He was so calm, and he made saves. It just seemed so easy. Like when you got a goaltender dialed in like that, it's beautiful to watch. But it was a great game. As far as the 3-on-3, I wonder, and I'm not going to pretend I know everything about all this stuff, but I wonder with the other sports have sponsors. The other sports have, they're trying to sell their sport. And I wonder if they have a lot of say in the fact that game doesn't go like 4 overtimes, right? Because they're not getting the eyes on them and stuff like that. That's probably one of the reasons. Maybe commercial reasons, like you have to charge more if it goes into overtime, or it's all already in the, you know, they've already made their package for whatever it is that the commercials pay. And if you do it more, they're not getting paid. There's a lot of reasons for it. And I really don't think it's going to change if I'm accurate in that. It's kind of unfortunate, but I had 3 DMs the next day from people that have started watching my show in the evenings. They said, I just started watching hockey. And I got to say, because I mentioned it, that I don't really think it's a great way to end the game. And they said, I loved it. It was exciting. It was fun. And you know what? If that 3-on-3 is going to get that motor running for you and more people are going to watch the game, keep it. I don't care. All that matters to me is how many eyes are watching this great game. It's the best game in the world as far as I'm concerned. And the more people watching it, the more I grew up in Canada, and I appreciate. I probably wouldn't love this game as much as I do if I wasn't born in Canada. So I want that for the people out there in the United States to be passionate about this great sport. So.
Well said.
Yeah, like I said, that's well said for sure, and we all feel that way. Why are we doing this show? Because we love hockey. You know, it's not just for, you know, part of our careers. You know, we've been doing the sports betting thing now, Alex and I, for 2 decades now. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but like I said, we do it for career and for work and to make money, but we love sports. We're here because we love sports, and we're here especially on this show, on this platform, because we absolutely love hockey and always have and always will. And we just wish everyone else loved it the way we do, because we think it's that freaking incredible a sport. You know, the speed, the pace, what teams can do, players can do at such a high level on skates, at such a high rate of speed, the fact that you're able to body check and play an incredibly, that borderline barbaric level of physicality sometimes in this sport, and often get away with it, be able to say, hey, let's fight, let's drop the gloves and not get suspended, and in most cases not get thrown out of the game. All you'll get is a 5-minute penalty. That's the beauty of this sport too, compared to everything else. So like I said, it is a beautiful massacre. It's often what I say about hockey, you know, because it is intense, it is physical, it is fast, it is entertaining, it's edge of your seat. And I will argue this every single day of the week, every single time. What is more tense, dramatic, and just you feel like you're going to pass out because you're just in such, you know, your nerves are just, your stomach is in knots, really, than overtime in an elimination game, whether it's Stanley Cup playoffs or what we saw in the gold medal game on Sunday. So like I said, that's about at the height of just drama and just, oh my God, your heart's in your throat. Like you almost can't breathe. Some of these Stanley Cup, especially if your team is involved in it. Yeah. You almost can't breathe with just how intense and how, you know, it's tense, and you're on the edge of your seat, and you're petrified. that goal against you might happen at any given moment. There's not many feelings in sports like that.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that
No,
makes.
I don't know who it was on Twitter, but he did a tweet and I sent it out too. He said, if you watched that game and you were excited and all of the things that brought in you, like you're talking about, tell your friends this is what the NHL is every day. Tell your friends that. Yeah.
Yep.
Tell everybody that, especially playoffs but even in the regular season. I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat all the time in the regular season. Of course, I got maybe 5 games on the game. That's part of it, but still,
we have a little skin in the game and money on the line.
But it's
still, in general, if it's your team, this happens all the time. 82, like in regular season and playoffs. It's a beautiful sport.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. It's a ride, whether you're just a fan of one team, whether you like a bunch of players, whether you're betting on the games like we are. It's a ride. And it can be intense at times. I've had people over the years say that this game's a little too intense for me, and that's fair. There's going to be some people who may not be able to handle the intensity of watching hockey for a very long period of time and watching the playoffs. But for those who can, this game is here for them. It's here for us. And like I said, now because we've had this Olympics, we're talking about 50 days. With 32 teams have between 24 and 26 games. We have a trade deadline coming in a week. We have some of the most exciting moments in a hockey season happening condensed over the next 50 days, starting with tonight. If there's not a better time to join on, to start watching hockey, to become a fan of a team, become a fan of this league, it's right now.
Well said.
No doubt. Like I said, and Eddie Olczyk, I heard him on an interview yesterday saying he thinks there will be a bump from this, because he said the Miracle on Ice did provide a little bump, and this is again the first time in 46 years the U.S. has won gold. And I know there's going to be people say that, well, there wasn't a huge rise in NHL viewership out of the Four Nations or even the most recent Olympics or even 2010 Vancouver. It's not like the NHL got a huge lift from that great gold medal game, Canada and the U.S., the Crosby Golden Goal. What makes this different is the U.S. actually won this one. They won the gold. And that could be like, wow, people will just look at that and say, well, right now we're the best, team or nation in hockey. That's going to get me toward ESPN, ABC, TNT on a more regular basis to watch this sport, knowing that now we're reigning supreme, at least as of now, in it. That's what we mean. Obviously, it's going to help grow youth hockey development, and we're already seeing it. Arizona, Florida, California, all kinds of non-traditional hockey states are all of a sudden developing players left and right. But just as far as viewership's concerned, I think the fact they won this time, is going to certainly, I think, have a better chance at least to improve ratings and viewership for the NHL for the rest of the season and moving forward. Well, let's turn the page, because now it's about trying to, we talk about improve the ratings. It's time to improve our bank rules moving forward here with the return of the NHL regular season. Let's just jump right into it, and we will start with the Philadelphia Flyers and Washington Capitals. -150, Washington home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Couple things just off the top here regarding how we approach this. It almost is like a second season beginning.
Yeah.
It really is, because it's been, a solid 3 weeks since all of these teams played last. There's going to be situations where teams that were rolling going into the break maybe have their rhythm disrupted and stumble coming out of it. And consequently, there could also be teams that struggled going into the break that start playing well coming out of the break. We do see this, whether it's the All-Star break, whether it was Four Nations last year, any extended break during the midst of an NHL regular season. And you could see those things happening. One thing I've noticed in doing some research, and certainly sides and totals, is that there's been a lot of first game, second game out of the break struggles for bigger favorites. And right out of the gate, I can tell you, if it's a -150 favorite, really if it's any kind of favorite of -130 or even -140 or greater, I'm not really that interested tonight or tomorrow night backing those teams. Doesn't mean they can't win. Doesn't mean you can't bet them, but I'm just not interested. I mean, the long-term numbers off extended breaks for bigger favorites, it's not great. In some cases, it's barely above 50% and you're losing money and negative ROI because of the prices for those bigger favorites. So that's just a general, thing that I am doing here in the first couple of days. I'm avoiding the bigger favorites here in these first couple days of the NHL season. Totals wise, we have seen higher scoring games off the extended break. We have seen that. We saw that happen certainly after Four Nations, and we definitely saw that in previous actually extended breaks. Overs in the first game specifically for each team coming out of the break cashed more often than not, and especially when you're talking about the totals that were below the 6.5 totals. So those 5.5, 6 totals in particular often were good overs for teams playing that first game out of the break. So those are just some general things to throw out there at everybody. Now, as we get in game to game with this one, Philadelphia and Washington, Dan Vladar and Logan Thompson have been confirmed as the starting goaltenders for these respective teams. Obviously, the Flyers are a team that, there has been evidence where the teams that don't play well going into the break can be good bet on material coming out of the break. And if you buy into that, you may want to back Philly and take a shot here with Philadelphia, because they were only 3-7 going into the break and 1-5 in their last 6 games going into the break. Washington was playing a little bit better going into the break. They finished 4-1 in their last 5 games prior to the Olympic break. So just using that philosophy, it may have you leaning bet Philadelphia here. I'm personally not going to do that here in this game. I did sprinkle on the draw here with the Flyers and the Capitals. Thinking, we did see the Flyers. Now, again, these are pre-Olympic break numbers, but Philly did play a lot of closer games. They did play 2 of their last 3 past regulation prior to the break as well. Washington went 3 of their last 7 games past regulation before the break. So I think this has the chance maybe to be a close one. Flyers, of course, you would think urgency's got to show up for any team in the position they are in the standings, and Washington for that matter as well, because they're on the outside looking in right now as well as far as postseason is concerned. So expect a competitive game. And I will say this right now because I don't want to repeat it. Based on the totals numbers I gave you, that we have seen a lot of higher scoring hockey. First game out of the break for each team. I'm going to say it right now so I don't repeat it. I'm on the over by factor in every game tonight. Every game. Every single game. However, I am on that over by factor in each game with differing amounts of money on each. So there's some I have just a small bet on, some I have a little bit bigger bet on. This would be one of the smaller ones with the Flyers and the Capitals as far as the over by factor. But I would expect, early on, there's going to be miscues, there's going to be gaffes, there's going to be brain farts, there's going to be miscues and turnovers, and just some sloppy play when you've been out of action for 3 weeks for the majority of these players, excluding the ones that participated in the Olympics. So, you could see, I think even goal in the first 10 minutes, goal in the first 5 minutes in a lot of these games tonight and tomorrow night for that matter, going to be something worthy of consideration, because you could see just that early mistake. Whoops, boy, I haven't played a competitive, intense NHL game in 3 weeks, and there's that mistake. And in the back of your net 2, 3, 4 minutes into the game. So I just want to make that a disclaimer right off the top. Over by factor for me in every game on the board tonight. This one would be one of the smaller ones, though, that don't have as much with the over by factor here as with some of the other games we'll discuss on the show here today. Alex, your thoughts here. First game off, Philly, Washington.
Yeah, this is one where I do like that first period over 1.5. I grabbed that minus $1.10 along with Flyers to score first goal in the first period. And that's kind of just looking at, okay, we got Logan Thompson starting. Logan Thompson was over in Italy. He didn't play a bulk of the games. He's just kind of, sitting around working out with the team. I wonder if that has something to do.
He played one game against Switzerland. That was it.
One game, right. So yeah. I wonder, that's something I'm going to be kind of focusing on. Do we see maybe a little bit of rust early with the backups who are over in Milan, as opposed to say, I already have what I'm doing as far as Hellebuck and Bennington are concerned. I'm fading them their first games back. We'll talk about that, of course, a little bit later on in this card specifically. But this is the spot where I could see Logan Thompson maybe giving up a sharp, soft goal early. and maybe not being on his game right away. And Philly being a team, they said, that had struggled heading into the break, and that's something I kind of look for as well. Teams that have struggled during the break come out with a little bit of head of steam and say, hey, let's get things rolling. He said this is kind of a second season for a lot of teams, the way that you look at it. And I think Philly's one of those teams in that position. So first period over 1.5 minus $1.10. Flyers to score first goal first period. I got plus 145 with that price over at BetMGM. Those are the two plays I have in this game here.
All right, Perla, what do you think of your Flyers Caps?
Yeah, we're kind of not on the same sides on this one. Philadelphia this year has been absolutely horrible on rest. Horrible, especially first periods. The last two games they played when off of rest, they look like a peewee team. Now, that may change here. Could be, but I'm going to go on what I've seen so far. I got the Capitals first period money line and puck line. I got it at minus 148 and plus 135. I just, until I see Philadelphia be able to play off a rest, I can't back them to do much of anything. Now, I understand that maybe Thompson will have will be a little rusty. You're not going to have Wilson in. So, but I think Washington also is just as motivated to get. I know they were doing a little better going in the break, but they're not in the position that they want to be in. So I think they're going to come out balls out in this game. They don't have too many guys that were playing in the Olympics. I think you're going to see Washington come correct here for the next little while. I wouldn't even mind taking a future, but I don't like the price on them to make the playoffs. They have a better. They have a pretty light schedule compared to other teams in the last 20-some games. So, but I'm taking Washington puck line first period, and I'm taking them money line as well, just a little bit split up between two units, just a little bit on each one of those. And I'm looking at Protus for a goal at plus 245. He's up on the top line. I like that. I wish it was bargain bin worthy, but I'm gonna throw a little bit on that.
That's one thing you're going to notice about me here the first couple days. Much lower volume with player props for me these first couple days. Unless I see one of my world famous who's moving up to the top line type of deals with great value. It's going to be definitely lesser volume here as far as player props coming out of the just until each team gets a game under their belt. We start to accumulate some data coming out of the Olympic break. So again, it's going to be few and far between with the player props. Like I said, coming out of the break, really the only one I was really all that excited about here in this game tonight was the one that Perlo mentioned was Alexei Protas. And Tom Wilson, probably isn't going to go tonight for the Washington Capitals. So keep that in mind as well. All right, next up, we've got Buffalo and New Jersey, minus 110 both sides, even money, 6 the total in this game. Looks awfully cheap on Buffalo on paper. I know that. I don't know. It's this game all day. I've thought, why am I not betting Buffalo here? I should be. But it's something about Buffalo where this is one team where I kind of want to see it here. You know, it's been a magical first half. No one saw Buffalo being in a wild card position at the Olympic break. You know, just especially the way they started the season in the first 2 weeks. There's always that little worry that, you know, Buffalo kind of comes back to the pack here a little bit. Now, I don't trust New Jersey enough to back them. I can tell you that. But at this point in time, this is just a game I'm going to sit back and observe. And as you can tell, especially when it comes to sides, you know, the teams that are in a situation, and I don't think New Jersey's going to make it. I think they've got too much ground to make up, and I don't think their roster at this point in time is nearly good enough to be able to make a charge and get back into the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I'm not in a rush across the board to bet against the teams, especially the first game, the teams that need to show a sense of urgency coming out of the break. And we'll get to a few, you know, later on the card. But New Jersey's one of those teams, like now or never for them. And Jack Hughes is going to play tonight. You know, there was some talk about whether some of the bigger, you know, named players on Team USA would return to their teams. The ones that were playing tonight, their teams were playing tonight. Would they be back in time? Would they be in the lineup? And Jack Hughes is one of those that will be in the lineup for New Jersey, even though he just returned from his from Washington with Team USA yesterday. So, like I said, it's one of these deals where it's certainly pregame, not a side I'm interested in backing. It could only be Buffalo at this price. But like I said, for New Jersey, this has to be a now or never moment for them. So in theory, they're a team that should have urgency, and I'm not in a rush to bet against teams that should be in theory ready to show urgency or needing to show urgency coming out of this break. So the only thing I have here is my every game over by Fecta on the card tonight here with Buffalo and New Jersey. Jake Allen confirmed in net for the Devils in this game, and I believe it's going to be UPL Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen here for the Buffalo Sabres, although that has not been confirmed. It's still Luke Hughes and Steph Nason on IR for New Jersey, and it looks like for the Sabres, still no Kulik, still no Justin Danforth. Zach Benson is also out, so those are important to note. But there is some very good news on the Buffalo Sabres side coming out of the break. Josh Norris back from injury for the Buffalo Sabres, and obviously we know it is just keep that guy in some kind of protective padding of some kind in between games. Do not let him succumb to another injury of some kind, because he's such a good player, and he's made such an impact, whether it was with Ottawa first, Buffalo since he's been there. When he's been healthy, he's been great, and he's made them a better team. But boy, oh boy, it seems like he cannot avoid that next injury, and that's what you're fearful of. But he is back tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. Certainly gives them even more of an offensive boost. Alex, what do you think here, Sabres Devils?
You talk about teams with sense of urgency coming out of the break. I think Buffalo has to play with a sense of urgency. As great as that of a run as they had leading up to the break, like I said, nothing's guaranteed for them. We've seen countless Sabres, this is a great run, making a little bit of a boost. They got some momentum, and then all of a sudden everything falls off the table. They got to show to themselves and to all of us that they can play winning hockey in late February, early March, mid-March, late March, and April. And I think that starts here. And you have to beat teams that you're better than. And Buffalo on paper is better than New Jersey. Buffalo overall, in my opinion, is better than New Jersey. So I grabbed it this morning, minus $1.05. I'm taking a shot here with Buffalo. This is a team that I need to see pick up the pieces right where they left off. And they said, now you have Josh Norris back in the lineup. They said, you got to keep him. You got to get hurt as often as I do. You have to keep him healthy and keep everybody and get that momentum back. UPL, like I said, maybe he may not start tonight, but he's definitely back, going to be coming back from IR. So now you have a 1-2 punch that you can rely on with how well Lions played. UPL is certainly at that point now where you can trust him to play in bigger games. I like the makeup of where Buffalo's at, but I think they have to start hot. And you look at not just this game, your next 2 games are against division opponents, Florida and Tampa Bay on the road. You have to get some momentum rolling, and you have to start here. So Buffalo money line for me.
All right, Buffalo for Alex. Like I said, this price, it's Buffalo or nothing for me. I don't argue with that. I will bet Buffalo live if they fall behind, because once they become a plus price, I'll be interested. But like I said, I do think if there's a spot for New Jersey to show, hey, save our season spot urgency, it's tonight. But yeah, there's no way I would bet New Jersey at a pregame price like this. What do you think here, Perlo, Buffalo, New Jersey?
Shouldn't New Jersey have had a sense of urgency? Sometime
I knew you'd be on
this whole
Buffalo, dating your favorite coach, Sheldon Keefe. I knew
worst coach on the planet. They're going to play like they are afraid to lose rather than winning. Not the worst, sorry, Hiller is, but they're going to play like they're afraid to lose, not wanting to win, and Buffalo is going to destroy in this game. Buffalo money line, first period, Buffalo full game. I might even parlay those together actually for a good plus price. I am not on the over here though. New Jersey shoots a lot, but they don't score. And we'll see. So I think it was Robert said that Hughes is going to carry the momentum. When do we ever see that? You have a huge emotional moment like that, and it's going to be carried the momentum. Usually, it's just really hard to get up for this game. I doubt very much that Hughes is going to be too much of a factor here in this one. And I like Buffalo for sure. I don't trust Keefe to have this team ready. I haven't all year, and I've made more money off of New Jersey maybe than any other team out there betting against them, fading them. So I'm going to keep on going with it. I don't think New Jersey is going to score much. This feels like a 4-2, 3-2 game for Buffalo. I have no goals first 5 and under 6.5 at -105 for a little bit, but my bigger bets are on Buffalo to win the game, and especially the first period. Buffalo's a really good first period. I think New Jersey is going to come out. I think Buffalo, and I think Alex brought up a really good point that Buffalo is as urgent as any team out there right now. I mean, they can taste it. They could make the playoffs right now. So
add another song to the Ice Guys playlist, Addison. Urgent, emergency, urgent.
But that being said, I totally get, Ian, how many times have we seen it? How many times have we said it? And Buffalo falls off at the end of the season. I mean, it's happened. My gut says that ain't happening this time. So give me them. I like Luukkonen in that. Allen, maybe a little bit rusty, but he's a veteran guy. He'll probably play all right, but I like Buffalo here.
There you go. Just
and
wait and see how urgent our team can be.
Norris as well going in the lineup is big.
Yes,
because they seem to play well with him in the lineup. In his first couple of games when he comes back, he usually plays really well. So I don't know. He's crazy. I've never seen a guy that can go on IR and then come in his first day back, play as well as
last time he returned.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. There's no doubt about that. Again, be careful with these stats of players that were playing well going into the break. Be very careful and scoring goals because, like I said, it's like a new season. Like part of the reasons why we love betting player props involving teams on goal scoring streaks is because they're in rhythm. Everybody's out of rhythm. Everybody's back to square one. Everyone's back to zero now as far as their rhythm is concerned and their timing. So, like I said, that's why it's definitely be cautious with it. I know Jonathan relies on player versus goalie stats or player versus team stats, and he's mentioning Paul Cotter for New Jersey, 6 goals in 8 games against Buffalo, and you're getting a good price with that.
That might be the best thing to rely on right now. The next week,
that data becomes more valuable now, right? Yeah, because you can't just rely on the streaks anymore. The streaks mean nothing. Who cares if you're on a 4-game goal streak right now? That was 3 weeks ago. Who knows if that rhythm and timing is going to be there for you right now. So that's why Jonathan's approach with the player props, the goal props, could matter more. All right, Toronto and Tampa Bay. This is a TNT doubleheader in the first game of the doubleheader. We've got Tampa Bay -220, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. First of all, condolences to Coop. John Cooper, father, passing away. Awful news. We send thoughts, prayers, condolences to the Cooper family, and obviously he will be away from the team because of this here tonight. So we send them our best wishes. When you look at Tampa Bay, here's a clear case going into this game where, Tampa Bay lead in the division. I wouldn't say comfortably, but they're still 6 points up on Montreal and Detroit in the Atlantic Division. They had an incredible first half of the season. I did say that the break was going to be beneficial as much, if not more, for any team than Tampa Bay because of the injuries. And boy, oh boy, when you look at that blue line, Max Crozier's on IR. Remember all that laundry list of blue liners that were hurt? They're all back now. Victor Hedman's back. Chernak's playing. Ryan McDonough is playing. Emil Lilleberg, who's been out for a long time, is also back for Tampa Bay. So that, the break was phenomenal for Tampa Bay getting that blue line healthy, which has been battling injuries all season. Now, they are still without Cirelli, and they are still without Nick Paul. Both of those players up front remain out for Tampa Bay here in this game. Obviously, up front, Hagel's there. Obviously, he was with Canada, so, they didn't not part of the celebration, obviously, post-game for the gold medal on the losing team. So, Jake Gensel was the one that we were wondering about, but obviously he didn't attend the White House festivities. So once we found that out, pretty much figured he'd be good to go for Tampa Bay here tonight in this one. There is a little bit of an urgency edge here for Toronto. Toronto is like in a situation where we talked about it with you name the team that's out of a playoff spot right now. If you're going to make a move and get into a playoff spot, you got to have a strong start out of the gate. So there's got to be urgency there for Toronto. There's not as much urgency for the Tampa Bay Lightning here in this game. in theory anyway. Although the fact now they see their head coach losing his dad, maybe that, inspires them, win one for the coach that's away, from the team. But I did a Toronto money line and puck line split here. I did. I mean, I just thought in this spot, given the fact that we've got Tampa, yes, as Robert says, they got Carolina tomorrow. They're in a spot where they're leading the division. Right now, it's just, and you're going to get prices like this with a Toronto team that, for the last couple seasons in the regular season, they've played Tampa very well. This Toronto Maple Leafs team. And the break was good for them as well when you talk about some of the injuries. Chris Tanev and Dakota Joshua are now the only players really still out and dealing with injuries. They're about as healthy as it gets. Matthew Nyes was talking about how he didn't feel right going into the break, didn't feel like he was at 100%, that the break did wonders for him. He feels as good as he has at any point this season. Austin Matthews, by the way, will play tonight at this point in time. So, like I said, I just think given the price really, and the fact that one team that's plus 190 here has got to bring it like you can't believe if they're going to try to make a playoff push, and a team that's had certainly some success head-to-head against Tampa Bay, that I think it was worth it here as far as taking a small shot. I've got more on the puck line, though. Plus 1.5 with Toronto on the puck line, minus 130. A little smaller on the money line. And as I mentioned, I'm on the over by Fecta in every game tonight. This over by Fecta, I think I like a little bit more than the first two games we talked about. I could definitely see there being goals back and forth. Stolarz, we'll have to wait and see still. He was excellent in his last start before the break against Edmonton. He played much better after a couple of really rough games. But still, he hasn't played a lot of hockey the last couple months. He's already confirmed as the starting goaltender tonight for Toronto. I believe it's going to be Vasilevsky. Obviously, no reason not to think it's going to be Andrei Vasilevsky, even though it hasn't been confirmed. But again, as great as Vasilevsky's been, he hasn't played hockey in a while. Obviously Russian, so he didn't play at the Olympics. So I think there's goals here. And like I said, I think Toronto money line, puck line split has value. I just think the urgency matters here in this first game out of the chute. What do you think here, Alex? Toronto, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I agree. There's big prices that you just cannot be looking at right now coming out of the break. Tampa at minus 220 is just absolutely insane. I mean, it really is, especially when you talk about the number of players that they had involved in the Olympics combined with the number of players who were injured, who are now back in the lineup. We talk about
8 players for Tampa were in the Olympics, yes.
Yeah. And so you talk about massive cohesion changes for game one. At some point, this team's going to, like I said, finally galvanize and be absolutely stronger than anything we've seen even before the break, in my opinion. But as of right now, at minus 220, like I said, against a Maple Leafs team that is fighting for their playoff lives right now, and a Leafs team that has dominated Tampa Bay, won 8 of the last 10 meetings. The only way I can look at it would be Leafs. But the way I'm playing this is Leafs team total over 2.5 minus 104. That's my largest bet of the three that I have in this game. I also like the draw plus 360 available at BetMGM. Let's hope those prices stick around in that book. And also at FanDuel, Maple Leafs to win in overtime or shootout plus 650. Those are the 3 plays that I like. But the highest one that I like is definitely team total over 2.5 with Toronto here. I think they come out hot. Like I said, you got Austin Matthews coming back. He may be one of those guys I could see coming right back into the lineup and getting a goal. But I think there's going to be other guys. I think this is going to be a little bit more of an upbeat Toronto team. Like I said, with Tampa, coming back. And then, of course, having the awful news with Cooper losing his dad as well. I can see where this is a little bit of a kind of flat spot. And then you sort of see them turn around against Carolina, a team that they always play fierce. Maybe that's where they kind of get their legs back under them.
Yeah, no doubt. This is, like I said, this is a very fascinating game. Like I said, it'll be interesting. Of course, we talked about our Tampa Bay. There's only one team that had more Olympic representation than the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that was Florida. Florida had 9 players. Tampa had 8. There were a bunch of other teams that had 8 as well, but Tampa was one of those teams that had 8. Toronto only had the 3, of course. Austin Matthews, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson were the 3 Leafs that were played at the Olympics in Italy. So, like I said, I mean, that matters a bit. The fact that Tampa Bay's, I don't want to say home and cool, but, you got a 6-point lead in the division. Toronto's coming out of this break saying, we're trying to save our fucking season. And I'm getting plus 190 with the team that's going to try to save their damn season. Now, I'll take a shot with that in a spot like this coming out of an extended break where it levels the playing field. What do you think here, Perlo, Toronto, Tampa Bay?
Yeah, Toronto is the price for sure, plus 190. I just really question the heart of this Toronto team. I'm not so sure you're going to see urgency out of this team. I think the underlying narrative in that organization is that this is not our year. Now that being said, you brought up really good points about Tampa.
I will say if your feelings come to fruition tonight and they're flat and they're awful and they get beaten soundly, then it's time to sound the alarm bells a little bit.
And that's why I'm playing on this game is Tampa Bay puck line first period.
Yeah.
I think they will come out and play with Coop, but their legs could fall off after that. I don't mind the over 1.5 first period. I think there'll be a lot of energy early, and because they're tired, there could be some sloppy play, both teams to score or something like that. But I think they're going to come out hard. And then I think it's going to slow down. Tampa will go back to their normal possession game where Toronto won't be able to touch the puck a lot of the time, and they'll shoot from the outside and try to hold on. And maybe Toronto does come back. I will sprinkle a little bit on the draw here because I could see their legs running out and Toronto being able to come back late. They do have their own players that were at the Olympics as well, but overall, I think they have more. They have more guys that weren't. So, yeah. And now that you talk about it, I will put a little bit on the draw, but I think Tampa Bay will win the first period. Also, they're a great first period team at home, and Toronto's only won 2 first periods on the road in their last 10, and overall they're not good. So I'll take that Cooper, do it for Coop energy to start off with, and then maybe it starts to fade off afterwards, and hopefully you get your Toronto plus 190. That'd be great. That'd be that's an awesome price, and if you do, that's great. But I think maybe the draw it might be my favorite play here. Well, what did you get on the draw? What price did you get, or did you play it?
I did not, but I'm going to play it. I am. I
didn't plus 360 was the price I got.
Yeah, I think that's a good price. I think
that's a good price. I like the draw there. Yeah, I will take the draw.
Yeah, Robert, thank you for spoiling the future segment on the show, but I'll just leave it. If you see it in the chat, you know what I'm talking about. But nevertheless, like I said, definitely it's a. I think the Leafs are going to. If they don't, man, what's wrong? There's something wrong. Something really wrong with this team internally. If they don't bring urgency and just a feeling of, hey, this is kind of like a playoff game on February 25th. Like if we don't make our move now to try to get into the playoffs, we're never going to make it.
This might be the one where they do have hope, but somewhere down the road, I'll be fading Toronto. But this might be the one. You're right. Yeah.
You look at the next 4 games, including this game against Tampa. Then you play at Florida, home against Ottawa, home against Philly. If you aren't taking at least 2 or 3 of those victories, in my opinion, then you're in trouble if you're Toronto. So you have to. This is playoff hockey for you, essentially.
Yeah.
And like I said, and of course you're starting off with a couple of stronger teams, but you have to have the. If you don't have the energy and motivation now at Tampa and at Florida, division rivals no less, then you may not have it.
Yeah, like I said, very intriguing to see what the Leafs bring here tonight. With obviously needing to still make, even though that they had a nice little 3-game surge right before the break, they've got to keep it rolling because they've still got a lot of work to do. Still, 5 points out, and still a lot of teams they got to leapfrog in order to get there. As far as, like I said, just props for this game, really the only thing, Bjorkstrand, just because he's on the second line. Now, he was scoring good before the break. Again, you're worried it disrupts rhythm a bit, but there's definitely that. Bobby McMahon, and they say if the Leafs fall out of it in the next, let's say they have a bad week, that's going to ramp up the Bobby McMahon trade discussions. If they, have a brutal, next week before the trade deadline, March 6th, his name continues to be bandied about in trade rumblings. So Bobby McMahon, I think, especially if he stays on that top line with Matthews and Domi and Matthew Nyes too, because all I've heard from Nyes in the interviews leading up to this return to action is he feels as good as he's felt all year. The injuries are behind him. He had, he did some chiropractic work, therapeutic work and during the Olympic break, and they say he feels great and he's ready to go. Coming out of the break, Matthew Nyes, for a guy that actually has had a very mundane season. I think we expected a little bit more out of Matthew Nyes after the big contract he got in the offseason. So I'm expecting a big post-Olympic run here for Matthew Nyes for Toronto because he says he feels as healthy as he's felt all year. All right, Seattle, Dallas. We've got Dallas minus 160, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. I see Matt Robinson in the chat. Not going to love me when I say this, but I'm on Seattle. I'm on Seattle plus 140. It's all about urgency. There's no urgency for Dallas. None. Zero. I mean, I don't even think they really care if they're second in the Central, if they're third in the Central. I don't even think it's the end of the world if they were to. I don't think they're going to fall out of a wild card. They're either going to be second in the Central or third in the Central in that group with Colorado and Minnesota. But at the end of the day, there's no urgency. They just put Mikko Rantanen on IR. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. They didn't even start Jake Ottinger tonight, giving him a little bit more of a chance to get a blow and recover and get some rest following the Olympics. So Casey DeSmith's going to be in net here for the Dallas Stars. They've already also announced that Rope Hintz not going to play at the very least for tonight for the Dallas Stars. This is kind of like what I said about Toronto. The long-term numbers of minus 150 or greater favorites in the NHL off an extended break are not good. They're money burners. They're negative ROI, negative units. Dallas is in that kind of price range here. And we got a Seattle team that is trying to push for a playoff spot. And I know Seattle's been the bane of my existence. I bet they're overs. They stay under. I bet on them. They lose, and I bet against them. They win. I've kind of had that little bit of a stretch at times this year, betting-wise, with the Seattle Kraken. But now, and I'm also concerned they were playing great going into the break. And as I've mentioned, sometimes those teams playing great going into the break struggle out of the break. But from an urgency standpoint, we should see it for Seattle. I know Dallas has played well against this team in the past, but I'll take a shot at plus 140 here with the Kraken. Alex, what do you think, Seattle, Dallas?
I'd be a little careful taking Seattle tonight. Casey DeSmith's numbers against the Kraken are outrageously good. 5-1 with a 1.17 goals against, a 961 save percentage, and a shutout. He's a Kraken.
Yeah, the crux of me betting Seattle is not Casey DeSmith and net.
Yeah.
It's urgency. Yeah. It's some injuries for Dallas. It's positioning that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things for the Stars. It's much more than Casey DeSmith being a net. Yeah. But go ahead.
So
continue.
that changed things for me a little bit because I was leaning towards Seattle too. But when I saw those numbers, that kind of put me at a little standstill. This is still Dallas. They're still the better team, even with guys missing. And when you have a goalie who clearly gets up for a team like this, that's where I kind of want to stay off of a side here. The one thing I will be on, and Matt mentioned in the chat, it's Robo to get a goal here. Only plus 115, but you got to believe that he's going to be fired up. Seeing that, hey, I got left off of the gold medal team, as good as I've been playing all year, I think he's going to come out hot. So I'm going to be on him to score once. I'll probably be on him to score twice as well. I don't know if it's going to be bargain bin for me, but I like Jason Robertson to get on the board at least once, if not twice, in this contest.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I would say that Bork too for Dallas because he's on the top line. This is not bad as far as value is concerned on the Dallas Stars side of the equation. But yeah, no argument. The theory makes sense. I like Shane Wright for Seattle. Shane Wright was starting to pop in the goals before the break. There is some talk about, I don't know, I don't think they trade him, but, for some reason his name has been brought up, in some trade discussion. But the bottom line is Shane Wright was playing pretty well offensively for the Kraken before the break. So I don't mind taking a shot there. If I were to bet one Kraken goal prop tonight, probably be Shane Wright, look toward him. What do you think, Perlo, Seattle, Dallas?
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the Kraken here too for all the reasons that you said. I did not know though that DeSmith was rocking against Seattle, so that gets me a little bit concerned. But I will take Kraken goal first period. I do think that sense of urgency will come out. It may take a while for Tampa Bay to get their urgency going, and if they do, they certainly can come back in this game. But just for a price play and like all the statistics you've mentioned about it's really like big favorites really have a problem here. It's not just a little bit. I mean, these first games off of breaks, it is heavily in the favor of the dogs. So I will put a little bit on that. I also have Robo here too. Johnson as well for shots. And Eberle over 1.5 shots at minus 137. Before the break, he was shooting like crazy. He usually gets his 2. So I'll take him over shots. For a lesser amount, Dallas is a good shot suppression team, so I'm a little concerned with that. But Not big on these games. Actually, I'm not playing huge on really anything in these games because there's a lot of X factors when you're talking about coming off these breaks. So,
yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Like I said, that is definitely something to keep in mind. Like I said, a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts here. Next game, Colorado, Utah. We've got Colorado minus 125 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. You've got the Avalanche, obviously, with well represented 8 players participating at the Olympics for the Colorado Avalanche. Looks like everyone's good to go here tonight for the Avs too. Everybody, regardless of what country you represented, everyone's playing. Well, Natchez, it goes without saying. McKinnon's been back long enough. Makar's been back long enough. But even the U.S. representation, like Brock Nelson, he's going to play here tonight for Colorado in this one. But still, that's a lot of players that were playing at the Olympics for this Colorado Avalanche team. Utah had 4 players, by the way, that were at the Olympics for them. But again, Colorado, talked about this with Tampa, a little bit with Dallas. There's not a ton of urgency for them. I mean, they're 5 points ahead. Now, the gap is not as big as it was, say, a month ago. Colorado didn't play great going into the break, 4-6 in their last 10. And now the gap between them and Minnesota for second in the division is now only 5 points. They're only 5 up on Minnesota for second in the Central Division. But still, it's not like be-all, end-all. We've really got to come out and, we need these points desperately. Utah kind of does feel that way. So, again, this is kind of an urgency. Who needs the points more? Who do you expect to have a little bit more of a focus and a dialed-in mentality here to, bring their best and win these games coming out of the break? Utah needs it. Utah's in a wild card spot, but they're not, they're not safe by any stretch of the imagination. They're in wild card 1. They're only 1 ahead of Anaheim, 4 clear of teams like LA, 5 clear of teams like Nashville. As far as the 2 teams that are out, of the playoffs going into this first game out of the break here tonight. So I took Utah here, plus 105. I bet the Mammoth here, plus 105. Wedgwood's going to be in net for the Avalanche. Vimelka for Utah, who is persona non grata, apparently, with Team Czechia at the Olympics. Did we even know that guy was on the roster? He wasn't even dressed most of the time for Czechia at the Olympics in that tournament. So he's fresh as a rose right now. So we'll see how this one plays out. But like I said, the money's come in on Utah, and for all the reasons I just mentioned, I understand why that is. Alex, what do you think here? Colorado, Utah.
This one's a pass for me. I want to watch and see how Colorado responds coming back. And like I said, this is a tricky spot for the Avalanche just the rest of the way. As well as they played from October until early February. This is a team that still had to try to keep that momentum. Like I said, just 5 points back of with Minnesota and Dallas, kind of crawling at their heels. If they have a slow start, if they're playing below 500 hockey at some point, and you got Minnesota and Dallas battling back and forth, you can blink and all of a sudden now here you are sitting in 3rd place when you were running away with first in the conference at one point this year. So, like I said, these are tricky spots for the Avalanche. And like I said, this is a Utah team that's hungry and desperate to try and get as many points as possible, especially against division opponents. Just look back on my notes. Utah only has, I want to say, 6 games against division opponents the rest of the way. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, they're one of the teams, one of the highest teams. They have 13 of their 24 remaining games against division opponents. So they can make a lot of ground in the playoff race with these division games. And like I said, the reason we're seeing this price as close as it is, we were seeing the Avalanche minus 250, minus 300, at some nights against teams before the break. And now here you are talking about only laying 120, 125 with Colorado. There's a reason for that. So this is a wait and see game.
All right, there you go. Good stuff as far as Alex's analysis there. And I was just about to say, I know he's closing in on a return. I wasn't sure if he's back. He is, I think. I think Logan Cooley is back for Utah tonight. Activated. Yep, activated. And I see now RotoWire. See, what RotoWire will do is with someone on the IR, they will slot him in the 12 forward group, if they think he's in and if they think he's going to play. And that's what they've done with Logan Cooley. So, and obviously, look, Logan Cooley is one of the most important players offensively. It goes without saying, and how well he was playing. So, again, He hasn't played in a while, but nobody's played in a while, aside from the 4 players that were at the Olympics for Utah and the 8 players that were at the Olympics for Colorado. So everyone's in the same boat. I think, like I said, value for Utah here. I expect them to show a little bit more of a want to here tonight. In this, I know people using the thing is that McKinnon's going to be mad. Is McKinnon playing Team USA tonight? No, he is not. So this notion that he's going to be mad and he's going to take it out on Utah is a bunch of nonsense. I mean, what's beating Utah going to do to quell the disappointment and the anger and the frustration and the sadness about losing in the gold medal game? It's not Team USA on the other side. It's not like he's got a chance for redemption. So I don't buy that argument. Maybe some people do. I just don't. What do you think here, Perlo? Colorado, Utah?
I don't buy it either. I got a better price, and I'm on Utah here. It's just a really tough spot for a lot of those players in Colorado. Coming off that big loss, it's emotional, and just the time travel. Like, just the time travel alone, going to Italy, you have to come back through time zones and everything. It's shoot, was you? Okay, yeah. So I got Utah here, and I took a little bit on the draw. I forgot to mention that in the Seattle game, I also am going to live draw. I don't like the price, but once a goal goes in or something like that, if I can get a better price, I'm going to live draw that game. Cooley over 1.5 shots. He's coming back. I'm sure he'll be firing. It's minus 130, and that's it. Yeah, Avalanche. I like Avalanche. Avalanche in this. Or sorry, I like Utah in this one as well. I got it at plus 107. A little better price, but it's good. It's just that it's a fishy line for a reason, and we just gave all the reasons. Yeah.
Now, there are a couple props I do like. We talked about how great Brock Nelson was playing before the break for Colorado. Whether that his rhythm is disrupted remains to be seen, but he did play at the Olympics, so maybe not as disrupted as you might think or you might see with other players. So I like the goal prop for him. And for Utah, if Cooley does play, and it's certainly trending that way, I'd sprinkle with him, with Gunther, and still with Lawson Krause too, because he remains on the top line for Utah. That there's probably worth a look there as far as his props go. All right, Vegas, Los Angeles. This is the second game for the NHL on TNT doubleheader tonight. LA, look at this price. This opened with Los Angeles minus 115. We've seen about 40 cents worth of movement, 50 in some cases, because LA is up to minus 160 in some spots now as home favorites. And the total here, 5.5, shaded to the under here in this game. Look, I get it. Vegas looks very much like a skeleton roster tonight for this first. And by the way, before I even get into the game, let's give a massive shout out here. I think there are a couple of psychopaths for signing up and accepting this assignment from their bosses at TNT. But somehow, some way, Kenny Albert and Eddie Olczyk are calling this game. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, geez, wow. I mean, you're just coming off calling, 16 games in 14 days? It was certainly that way for Kenny because he did the women's games, too, for the Olympics. And here he is, no rest, no holiday, no vacation time, no time to just catch his breath. He's on a flight out to the West Coast right off the Olympics on Sunday and calling Golden Knights Kings here on TNT tonight, the great Kenny Albert. And he was great with the calls of the Olympics, especially the men's gold medal game-winning goal and the women's one as well. So shout out to Kenny and Edzo. No days off for them, and they'll be calling Vegas and LA tonight for TNT. But look, I will say, you guys know I despise LA and their coach, Jim Hiller. We've said this all year. But there's some things that make sense for LA. Vegas, like I said, skeleton roster, it looks like tonight going into this game. From all indications, Jack Eichel's not playing. He won't be in tonight. You've still got some injuries with your depth forwards. There's, Carlson, Ronbergs, Sissons, and Houghton. Noah Hannafin's also going to be out tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. So both American participants coming back from the Team USA celebrations, Hannafin and Eichel, both going to be out tonight here for the Vegas Golden Knights for this game. And it looks like, as far as goaltending, Vegas, LA, Aiden Hill is confirmed in net for them. Anton Forsberg for LA. Andrei Kuzmenko was on the injury report for the Los Angeles Kings before the break. They haven't updated this. I'm trying to see if he is indeed in or not. But it looks like the latest update is he is in for the LA Kings tonight. So they look pretty healthy. And, of course, we're burying the lead here. This is the Los Angeles Kings debut of the bread man, Artemi Panarin, his first game with the LA Kings. Remember, this trade happened a few games before the Olympic break, but he decided, I'm not going to join the team until, the Olympic break, or the first practice after the Olympic break, and won't play till after the break. Well, here it is, the debut of Artemi Panarin. And just when you think, someone to give this team an offensive boost, we know they're one of the lowest teams in the NHL, goals scored per game this season. Then they lose, of course, Kevin Fiala to a season-ending injury at the Olympics. So just when you get Panarin to infuse the offense, you lose, one of your other, key contributors offensively long-term in Kevin Fiala. So that's a little bit frustrating. But here's what I think for the Kings moving forward here is that I think there's a chance for their overs to have some value. Panarin's an offensive guy. He's not going to give you defense all that much, all that great, but he will improve this team offense. Certainly the power play he's going to help. And the Kings' power play certainly needs a little bit of a boost and a little bit of help. No question about that. So, like I said, I expect there to be good energy, good adrenaline from the home team tonight. There's another team that's starting their post-Olympic break schedule just outside the playoffs in the Western Conference, 3 points out of the second wild card spot. That being said, they're also 3 points out of the third place spot in the Pacific, currently being held by the Seattle Kraken. So urgency I expect from the Kings. Vegas is a little shorthanded tonight, specifically thanks to the Eichel and Hannafin absences for this game tonight. So I understand betting LA, but there's still no chance in hell I'm laying it with LA at this price. No way, no how. Could you maybe convince? You know what I actually did, though? I dabbled a little bit in the Kings team total over. Can you believe it? A freaking Kings team total over. Trusting this team to put the puck in the freaking net, and I'm doing it tonight. Because it's not like Aiden Hill was shutting the door for the Vegas Golden Knights before the break. Very much erratic, his play in net. Like I said, I expect there to be a little bit of an adrenaline boost here for the LA Kings tonight for this game. I went with the flat 3 on this. Bet Rivers, over 3, minus 114 for this Kings team total. And this is an over by Fecta that I think does have some really good value, believe it or not. Because I'm on the over by Fecta, as I mentioned earlier, in every game tonight. This one I actually like more than most. I think the Kings could be. I'm not saying they will be. Maybe they're still going to have a 3-2 smorgasbord of games moving forward that stay under and they still struggle to score goals. But what I would say is that I do think they could transition, especially because we're going to get 5.5s consistently with Kings totals, that they could cash a few more overs. Because like I said, Panarin plus offense, minus defense when you bring him onto the hockey team. So, like I said, I think that could start to show up here for this Kings team. And if anything, he can only help and he cannot hurt the power play. A power play that needs some help for the LA Kings. Alex, what do you think here? The second game on TNT tonight, Vegas, LA.
Keeping it simple. I'm waiting for this end game for the over by Fecta. We got plus money already with first period over and full game over. But I'm going to wait. I want to see the momentum. Like I said, I want to see how this Vegas lineup looks with a couple of pieces missing. Like I said, we need to see some urgency offensively with LA now with Panarin in that lineup. So I think we can get a better price on both of those numbers. Even, being a little greedy, I guess, since we're already in plus money territory. But why not? You get plus 120, plus 125 for that first period over, plus 110 for that over 5.5. That's what I'm going to be waiting for. But I do like goals here in this game.
And remember, we had 5 straight overs. We talked about this in October when these teams played for the first time this season. It had actually been an over history between these two teams. There were 5 straight overs head-to-head between the Golden Knights and the Kings. Now, there's been 2 straight unders the last 2 meetings. It's still 5-2 to the over in the last 7 meetings. But like I said, I've got LA circled as a team that I'm not going to bet them over every game, but I do think there's a chance they could have a few more overs in their future as far as totals, now adding Artemi Panarin to the lineup. What do you think here, Perlo, Vegas, LA?
No, I don't like this game. One thing I do take is Dorofeyev over 2.5 shots, but I'm not. I like. I'll tell you. One thing for sure. Jim Hiller is going to have a heart attack watching Panarin play out there. He's going to freaking lose his mind. I think it'll be the end of Jim Hiller, not because he gets fired. He'll just run away. Like he's that guy. Panarin's not listening to no one. He's not gonna play this trap system, fade to the fade block around the goaltender type thing like that. That guy's gonna be flying out there like he always does. So take him for a goal, I guess. He'll probably score, but overall, I just like Dorofeyev over shots, and that's about it here. Vegas third period puck line. I have a look. That's just in every time Vegas plays, whether they're down or they're up. Third periods, for some reason, they have an incredibly good record. So I got a little bit on Vegas third period puck line, which is a really good price, like plus 210. So, but that's it. I can't take LA. I just can't do it. I can't get myself to do it. So I'm not going to. And I think LA might win this game, but.
Yeah, by the way, it's more than just Hannafin and Eichel. Marner, Stone as well. Out for the Vegas Golden.
If you go to Puckpedia and you try to find their depth charts, it keeps on buffering. So
yeah, see, I had to update it. So there you go. So just to recap,
but I do like
initially I had just Hannafin and Eichel out. It's Hannafin, it's Eichel, it's Marner, it's Stone, it's Theodore. They're all out for Vegas. So yeah, what I would say now is more focus on the King team total. I still think it can get there, though. I mean, is Forsberg, Jonathan Quick in his prime? No, he's not. I still think as far as this goes, that Vegas can chip in. You've still got Dorofeyev, still got Barbashev, you got Hurdle. You still got some pieces there up front. And I expect the LA to play with some greater amount of pace tonight. I don't know why. I just think they're going to be excited to see Panarin on the ice. Know he's brought in to help them offensively. They could take a few more risks as far as their D-men here tonight. Like I said, then I think that could open up some counter opportunities for Vegas. I know it's a depleted Vegas roster tonight, but I still think they can get on the board for 1 or 2. And Vegas and LA gets 4, and there you go. The game could still go over 5.5 here. All right, good stuff. All right, next up, we've got Winnipeg and Vancouver. Winnipeg minus 130, road favorite, 6 the total in this game. This is an over by fact I definitely like. I know Comrie was very good going into the break for the Winnipeg Jets, but let's see how he fares here. Now, it's been a while since he started. That being said, he did play well, for the Jets, and obviously he will start with Connor Hellebuck, obviously not starting here for the Jets tonight in this game. Looks like as well Josh Morrissey's still on IR, and they've got a bunch of defense. That's another thing why I think the over's worth a look here. Like Neil Pionk's on IR, Josh Morrissey's on IR, Hayden Fleury, Colin Miller, both on IR for this Jets team. So you got a Sandberg, Elias Salomonson. Yeah, he's the new guy that's filling in on the blue. Billy Heinola is brought in as well on the blue line. Stanley DeMello, Luke Shen. So you've got a mishmash blue line here tonight for this Winnipeg Jets team tonight. So I think Vancouver might be able to chip in some offense here tonight. And you've got guys like Evander Kane actually were starting to play well. Drew O'Connor. Marco Rossi's healthy now. Elias Pettersson bandied about in trade rumors. He's going to want to, I would think, show what kind of value he can offer here. So I think Vancouver's got the chance here with a little bit of a short-handed blue line for Winnipeg. Eric Comrie not having played in a while. Chance for them to find the back of the net. That being said, do you trust Vancouver's blue line? I don't. And obviously they've had their share of issues keeping the puck out of the net. We're going to see the young Russian, Nikita Tolopilo, here in net for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. 3.04 goals against, 910 save percentage on the season. I will say he played pretty solid, in the 3 starts he made before the break. But again, this guy hasn't played since January. He did play well. He gave up just 2 goals to San Jose. He gave up, he shut out Anaheim, and then he gave up 2 goals against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They lost that game, obviously, in overtime, but he still played pretty well to Tolopilo in that game. Actually, 3 goals he gave up because he did give up the overtime winner to the Leafs in that game. But nevertheless, I think definitely over by fact it makes sense here to me in this spot. I do. Alex, what do you think here? Winnipeg, Vancouver.
You can even go over trifecta, honestly, in this one. But I am definitely on that over. I got the over 6 minus 122 earlier at FanDuel. You can see it minus 120 to 125 floating around. I might actually wait for that first period over. I might wait for that to drop down a little bit, but I'm already committed to that full over 6. And like I said, I kind of lean with both teams to score. You're talking about Comrie. Yeah, like I said, he played well, in spot starts, and this is where you have him come in, right? He's the guy for the next 1 or 2 games until Hellebuck's ready to get back into form. But he's still susceptible to give up some goals here. Like I said, a mishmash defensive pairings. for the Jets, and Topo Chico's the guy that like say, okay, 2 goals against San Jose. We've seen San Jose go up and down. We've seen Anaheim have some of their issues as well offensively heading into the break. So I'm not going to just write that off as all of a sudden he's got his form going. I think he's still susceptible to give up goals. So over by effective, but I'm going to wait for that first period over.
Yeah, definitely. Waiting is not the worst thing in the world because we are talking. This is one of the totals that is 6.5 in some spots. So if you want to wait a little bit, it may not be the worst idea to do that. Perlo, what do you think here? Winnipeg, Vancouver.
I actually like Winnipeg here. First game. You talk about urgency. I mean, if there's a team that has urgency, it's the Winnipeg Jets right now. So I think they will play hard. I don't think they're a team that's thinking in the back of their heads like there's nothing in that organization that says rebuild. It's never going to happen. So it's balls out every time. So I don't mind Winnipeg. I'm not putting a lot on it. I can definitely.
They are 11
see the
points
over,
out. That's a lot of friggin' ground to make up, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. You just got a coach there that's going to make you believe you got to win this one. Don't think ahead. All the stuff that they're going to say. Vancouver's just bad. They're just bad. Kane's on the block. DeBrusk said he wants out. Everybody wants out. I just don't see the morale in that team. I think anybody can beat them. So I don't mind Winnipeg. I don't mind Winnipeg in there, but I actually like Comrie over saves at 22.5. One thing Vancouver does do is they shoot from everywhere because they don't really have a lot of talent up front. So they just shoot. They'll probably get about 27, 28 here as long as Winnipeg keeps it close. And I imagine they will because they're not a great team either. So it'll probably be a fairly close game. So I don't mind Comrie to get over 22.5. That's probably my favorite play here of this game. Not really a huge fan of it, but I think Winnipeg will take this. I do.
Yeah,
I don't mind the over like you said as well. Is probably going to be pretty loose. At least Winnipeg's going to probably set pace, which is funny to say, but they will. Scheifele, somebody brought up Scheifele and not getting invited to Canada and all that kind of stuff like that. I think he'll play hard. So give me that. I'll take Winnipeg and over saves for Comrie.
No doubt. It's lousy a season as Vancouver's had. They had 5 players representing them at the Olympics. So, you still got to, it's pretty, for even though things have gone pretty poorly for them this season, that's definitely something to keep in mind as far as that goes, that they actually had some pretty solid Olympic representation. But like I said, Comrie and Topo Chico, hearing that from Alex never gets old, hearing that. But like I said, definitely I think the stage is set for some offensive fireworks here in this game. Perlo likes Winnipeg. This is definitely a Winnipeg or pass for me. I mean, there's to me, Vancouver is still bet against or pass for me until future notice, further notice. But like I said, I'm off the side. But yeah, it's still Winnipeg or pass for me. I just stuck to the over by facta. All right, the last game here for this first night back for NHL action following the Olympic break. Edmonton, Anaheim. Edmonton -125 road favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. Edmonton, I want to first of all bring this up because I think it's important to note this. The Edmonton Oilers during the Olympic break announced that Paul Coffey is returning as an assistant coach, and that is worth mentioning because there is no point in the Oilers' recent memory in the last few seasons where their blue line has been better than it was when Paul Coffey was behind that bench alongside Chris Knoblauch and coaching up the D. Okay, he did a great job with that team on the blue line, especially in those playoff runs the last couple of seasons. And I think this is a move that was made because, look, what's been the problem this year for Edmonton? Defensive play, giving up way too many chances, too many grade A chances, too many goals. Their goaltenders, Tristan Jarry and Calvin Pickard, have seen way too much rubber so far this season and quality chances, and the D has not been good enough. And the hope is they want to capture lightning in a bottle of last year and 2 years ago. Paul Coffey will be the magic elixir to fix this Edmonton Oilers blue line. He will help. He will help because his coaching certainly mattered. And whatever most he got out of Nurse and Bouchard and all these players on the blue line, Paul Coffey got that out of them. And the hope is now that he's back in an assistant coach role again, that's going to help Edmonton. So I like the move. I think it's an obvious choice. I actually thought to myself, they should look at bringing Coffey back again and see what he can do. An all-time great defenseman in the sport, of course, in his playing days. And he did a good job coaching up that D. So we'll see. I mean, is it going to make an impact right away tonight? Maybe not, but like I said, something to monitor moving forward. Does this defense start to finally play a little bit better now with Paul Coffey running the show as far as coaching up the blue line here for the Edmonton Oilers? But what we see tonight remains to be seen. This is one of these games where certainly from a price standpoint, I could only back the Ducks. You know, it is Lukáš Dostal coming off a very fine performance in the Olympics for Czechia. I thought he played very well majority of the games. He's the only reason they were as close as they were to upsetting Canada, you know, in the quarterfinal round. Dostal had a very solid Olympic run. Tristan Jarry did not have a solid run pre-Olympic break for the Oilers. In fact, the struggles are pretty well documented. I mean, he gave up 4 goals to Calgary in a loss, 5 goals to Minnesota in a loss, a game where he got pulled after 35 minutes, 4 goals to Anaheim, 6 goals to Pittsburgh, his old team. It was a mess for Jarry since he's joined the Edmonton Oilers. 2-3, 5.28 goals against average, .831 save percentage in his last 5 starts. So, you know, what do you get here? I mean, if you're buying into those numbers, you expect him to get lit up. You expect him to struggle. You expect Edmonton to give up goals in bunches, because that's exactly what we saw whenever Jarry was in net before the break. I don't hate that really when it's all said and done. I'm definitely on over by Fecta pregame, although it's pretty pricey here with Edmonton Anaheim. You're talking 6.5 here is -150. So this is definitely a weight on it if you want a little bit extra value. I did sprinkle on Anaheim team total over. Part of me does think Edmonton could get a little bump coming out of the break and have a little nice run, but I got to see it. And this is still pretty good value here with the Ducks. So I got involved with a little on Anaheim money line, but more so targeting the team total here for Anaheim with the 3.5 plus money too. You know, you can get over 3.5 with the Anaheim team total at +114. Again, I know it could be different here for Edmonton, for Tristan Jarry. Wipe the slate clean, hit the reset button, fresh start. Maybe it's a different Edmonton team defensively. Maybe it's a different Tristan Jarry, but I'll tell you what, right now, I got to see it before I believe it. Alex, what do you think here? Edmonton, Anaheim.
Yeah, I like Anaheim at this price, +105. You got Leo Carlson back in the lineup at the skating, and he's also the top line.
Forgot to mention that. Yes, Uncle Leo's back. Big boost for the Ducks.
I will be on him to score a goal tonight, and my bargain bin will come from this game.
All right, Perlo, Edmonton, Anaheim.
Yeah, well, first I'll get into Paul Coffey. I'll tell you what's going to happen with Paul Coffey. It has nothing to do with the actual defenseman. It has to do with forwards. They got forwards there that can't control the puck in the neutral zone. They can't take passes in the neutral zone. They don't know where their spots are in the neutral zone. And unfortunately, you've got guys like Bouchard that look up and go, where the hell did I do with this puck? And what's going to happen is Coffey's going to tell them, don't try to control the puck. Just chip it, and we'll have to dump a chase until next year when we can teach you how to do this shit. We don't have time right now. So that's what you're going to see what's going to happen. They're just going to be chipping it in, dumping and chasing, stuff like that. They got Roslovic there up on the second line. That's kind of what he's for. I like him today. I like him for shots today as well. But until I see a time when Edmonton comes out of anything and plays well, I'm not taking Edmonton. This is a team that never does well, either beginning of a season, after an all-star break, after any break. This team is terrible. So I'm taking Anaheim here and the team total over. Jarry? Come on, man.
I got to call him Jarhead when he plays like this. Jarhead. Yeah.
You're going to give me plus money on a team that has Dostal against Jarry? Yeah, I'll take that. Thanks. Yeah. Also, the over is -145, but again, back to the team, the second period overs for Edmonton Oilers games. Over 2 at BetMGM is -140, and over 2.5 is +135. I split it up. So those are my biggest bets on this game.
There you go. All right, good stuff. Just as quickly on a couple props here for the Edmonton-Anaheim game. I don't argue with Alex's thought. Carlson looks like he'll center Killorn and our guy Seneca for Anaheim on the top line. So because Carlson, any of those players, you can. Here's one that's got a little value. Ryan Poehling might be with Troy Terry and Chris Kreider tonight. Very interesting combination there for Joel Quenneville tonight. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, that Ryan Poehling up the lineup might have a little value. And then for the Edmonton Oilers, Savoy, it was playing pretty well before the break. He's still with Leon Draisaitl, so I like the value there we might be getting with Matt Savoy there for the Edmonton Oilers. Great stuff. It's great to be back. It's great to have NHL back, and I know Alex feels that way. He was ready.
Yes.
He was ready 3 weeks ago when the tournament started for the Olympics. To be and he is more than happy to have NHL back. Shout out to everybody. Just a couple of housekeeping items for Patreon members and everything. Back to the usual routine. NHL betting card every day on the Patreon page. Sides, totals, player props. I do want to point out regarding the live betcasts, we're going to have to be maybe one or two at most as far as Patreon exclusive live betcasts in March. It's just the way it is, guys, with the college basketball and the NCAA tournament. Right. That takes up a lot of my focus and a lot of my time in the month of March. But be patient. We will make it up to you, because in April, May, and June, we're going to have the combination of the end of the regular season and the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then May and June, which will be all playoffs. We're going to go upwards of as much as 4 Patreon exclusive live betcasts per month. And those will be a lot of fun. They'll be shorter variety, the early games, whatever the case may be. And like I said, we're definitely excited about that. And of course, we'll still do our monthly free-for-all betcast as well each month moving forward, which will be the all-nighter that we usually do, 7 p.m. until the end of the late games. So all of that is coming. Like I said, we're only going to have 1 or 2 Patreon exclusive betcasts in March because of how much time we gets taken by the tournament in college basketball. But like I said, we will definitely be piling on the betcast coverage for you in April, May, and June. So all the more reason to become a Patreon member right now. We appreciate all the signups during the Olympic coverage. You got access to our Olympic shows before everyone else did. So we appreciate the new signups. $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. Updated goalie charts, updated totals charts. Chris Otto has provided for us on the page. Jonathan Davis providing a nice little document for us that I posted on the Patreon page. Puck line performances, first goal scorers for teams. Great chart outlining that. Available on the Patreon page as well. Plus, of course, daily betting card in the NHL returns tonight. Sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Live betcast the rest of the season as well. We're going to record Jason Seed very soon, too. Player suite interview with a player that represented Italy at these Olympics. To hear that experience and how it was for him will be fun. That'll be a player suite interview on Patreon in the near future. All that and more. Your $10 membership goes a long way per month to keeping the show going long term. $10 per month. Check it out. Patreon.com/iceguys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You get 3 days where you can save 20% off of all items in the store. Hit the redeem button at the homepage, put all your items in your cart, and you get 20% taken off the checkout. So 3 days of 20% off. It's a great time to get a t-shirt, get a cap, get a hoodie, get all 3. Right now over at the Ice Guys store. It's iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, great. Oh, yeah, wizardsportspicks.com. 11-1 college basketball run for yours truly. 11-1. It's been incredible. College basketball is red hot. We've got college basketball card tonight. NBA's been good. NHL's back tonight, so check it out. wizardsportspicks.com. All right, and by the way, I'll be on a video. They invited me to do one of their YouTube shows that they're doing on the channel as well, so I'll be on that. It'll be posted tomorrow. Bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Please for yourself with my mouth is
Thanks to all our sponsors, and check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Bargain bin special of the night. We're back. Although we did have a couple nice moments with the bargain bin special during the Olympics. We had Mr. True. I don't know if Mr. True was a bargain bin special, Alexander True, but we picked him a couple times to score. I know one we had for bargain bin special, our buddy Trail Mix from Latvia, Edwards Trollmax. Boy, it was fun to cash a couple big plus price winners. One of them was a bargain bin with him during the Olympic tournament. That was a lot of fun. It was nice to hit a few of those. But now we're back with the NHL, our bread and butter when it comes to the bargain bin special of the night, including for Alex B. Smith. Alex, what do you like for bargain bin special for this first night back?
I've got a pair of them. First, we'll start with that game, Seattle taking on Dallas. And like I said, Jason Robertson, I believe he's going to be playing with his hair on fire. I think he gets 2 goals tonight. You can get plus 700 at FanDuel for him to score twice for the Dallas Stars. So that's my first bargain bin special. My second bargain bin special goes to that Edmonton-Anaheim game. We're going to keep it real simple. Anaheim to win the game, combined with Leo Carlsson to score a goal, plus 302. Just makes that cut. But I like both of those things to happen. So Anaheim win with a Leo Carlsson goal. That's my second bargain bin special of the night.
All right, there you go. A couple of bargain bin specials for Alex to get us rolling with the NHL resuming tonight. Perlo, bargain bin special of the night.
All right. First of all, you guys can catch me at Rico and Perlo's house of Exotic Jaime's Picks Frolic at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I got a message from JD, who's on the show quite a bit. He said that we talked about the Smith and his saves his last night, and I don't remember it. So you can go check out what I missed. And apparently I forgot all about it. So, but anyways, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, go check it out. And my bargain bin is I got 3 because I don't get on very often. I can't pick between them. I got Norris, talked about it already. Whenever he comes back off of that injury, you can get him at plus 370. Hit it last time he came off injury. I'm going back to it again today. Again, I liked Roslovic up there on the second line with Draisaitl at plus 390. When he's up on that second line, he gets lots of chances. And kind of everybody, somebody that everybody has kind of forgotten, but didn't go to the Olympics and will probably get their chances today is Radish at plus 360. I'm going back to that hot mother. He's got 7 of his goals in 7 of his last 6. So Norris, Roslovic, and Radish are my goal props or my bargain bins for today.
All right, good stuff. And I got 2 as well. We're going to go to Toronto, Tampa Bay. He's feeling great. Sounds like he's feeling great, as healthy as he's felt all year. And I could see him going on a bit of a run here for Toronto and get his season really ramped up. Hungry Nyes. 1 goal from you, and I can't describe. Matthew Nyes plus 365 is the price I got. Robert, I see, likes Matthew Nyes to score. Plus 365 with Matthew Nyes for Toronto for my first bargain bin special. And the second one, Lawson Krause, Utah. Top line, there's still value there playing with Keller and Schmaltz, plus 400 for Lawson Krause for Utah. So there you go. 2 bargain bin specials here for this first night back on this Wednesday. Best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, I like that Toronto team total. I said over 2.5 minus $1.04. Yes, I know Vasilevsky's perfectly rested and should be able to shut down this Toronto team that has been kind of up and down all year. But I said this is a Leaf team. I think that they'll wake up at least a little bit in that first game out of the break. They should be able to get 3 goals here against a Tampa team that they've played well against of late. So Toronto team total over 2.5 minus 104 is my best bet.
All right, Toronto team total over 2.5 for Alex with best bet. Perlo, best bet.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Sabres money line against New Jersey. Minus 102 is my straight bet. And I always like to give a prop. And I'm going to go back to Roslovic again. Over 1.5 shots, minus 130. Whenever he's up on that top 6, he flies over that total. So those are my 2 for today.
Yeah, I'll go with Winnipeg, Vancouver, over 6, minus 120. I think that game goes over the total. I think we'll see goals, Jets and Canucks. 6-2, by the way, to the over in the last 8 meetings between Winnipeg and Vancouver. I think we'll see goals there. I don't think Comrie or Topo, I almost said Topo Gigio. God, Topo Chico, Topo Gigio, Tolo Pilo. There we go. That's how it properly is. I don't think Tolo Pilo or Comrie shut the door. So Winnipeg, Vancouver over 6, minus 120 for my best bet. First best bet back from the Olympic break. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat at the like button on the way out. Appreciate it very much. It's good to be back in the saddle again, 7 days a week, NHL every day, and glad to bring it to you right here on the Ice Guys. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Perlo, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. NHL's back. Enjoy it. Cash some tickets. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will see you tomorrow on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.